What if I told you that the voice screaming you can't inside your head is not your enemy, but your alarm clock? What if I told you that fear visited me every single morning before courage ever did? I stand here today not as a woman who was born fearless, but as a woman who learned to dream louder than her fear. There was a time when my dreams were huge, but my confidence was microscopic. When I would rehearse my ambitions only in silence because saying them out loud felt dangerous, almost arrogant. I was the woman who overthought every step, who waited for permission that never came, who shrank herself so the world wouldn't feel uncomfortable around her. Fear told me I was too much and not enough at the same time, too ambitious for my background, too emotional for my goals, too ordinary to want something extraordinary. And I believed it. I stayed in places that drained me because uncertainty scared me more than unhappiness. I smiled while my soul begged for more. But one night, exhausted from betraying myself, I realized something that changed everything. Fear had already taken so much from me, and it was still asking for more. That was the moment I stopped asking, "What if I fail?" and started asking, "What if I don't try?" Because the truth is, fear doesn't disappear when you wait, it grows. It feeds on hesitation, it thrives on delay, and it convinces you that safety is the same as living. I decided that night that if fear was going to walk with me, it would walk behind me, not in front of me. I didn't become brave overnight. My hands shook, my voice cracked, my knees trembled, but I moved anyway. I dreamed bigger than my fear. Even when my fear was screaming, I chose growth over comfort, purpose over approval, and faith over familiarity. And let me tell you something powerful. The moment you take one step toward your dream, fear starts negotiating. It starts whispering instead of shouting. Because fear knows something. Most people forget your dreams were never meant to fit inside your comfort zone. As I kept moving, I learned that dreaming bigger than your fear doesn't mean you stop being scared. It means you stop obeying it. Fear still showed up when doors slammed in my face, when people doubted me, when results took longer than my patience could handle. There were days I cried alone, questioning my worth, my timing, my strength. But here's the shift that saved me. I stopped seeing setbacks as signs to quit, and started seeing them as proof that I was finally doing something meaningful. Every rejection sharpened my hunger. Every failure carved resilience into my character. I realized I wasn't being tested because I was weak. I was being trained because I was capable. Fear tried to remind me of where I came from, but my dreams reminded me of where I was going. I stopped waiting to feel ready, because readiness is a myth sold to keep dreamers small. I showed up imperfect, unfinished, uncertain, and still unstoppable. I learned that courage isn't loud confidence. It's quiet persistence. It's choosing your dream even when nobody claps, when nobody believes, when the only witness is your own tired reflection. And slowly, without me even noticing, the woman who once hid her dreams began to embody them. I became proof that fear loses its power when purpose takes control. I stopped asking the world if I was allowed to rise and started telling myself that I had no other option. Because when your dream is bigger than your fear, quitting becomes impossible. You don't chase comfort anymore, you chase alignment. You don't run from fear, you outrun it with vision. And standing here today, I don't tell you this story to impress you. I tell it to remind you that the life you want is waiting on the other side of the fear you keep negotiating with. Dream bigger, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And now I understand something I wish someone had told me earlier. Fear is not a stop sign. It is a direction. It points exactly to the place where your next version is waiting. Every time my heart raced before taking a risk, it was because growth was calling my name. I stopped asking for a life without fear and started asking for a life so meaningful that fear would be irrelevant. I learned to honor the discomfort because comfort never built the woman I was becoming. The nights I wanted to quit were the nights my dream was closest. The moments I felt invisible were the moments my strength was being sharpened in silence. I stopped measuring my progress by speed and started measuring it by courage. Step by step, choice by choice. I rewired my mind to believe that my dreams were not unrealistic, they were just unfamiliar. And when fear whispered, "Who do you think you are?" I finally answered, "I am becoming." That answer changed everything. Because when a woman decides to become, nothing can hold her back, not doubt, not failure, not the opinions of people who never had the courage to try. So if you're standing at the edge of your own dream right now, trembling but hopeful, let me tell you this from the deepest part of my soul. Go anyway. Take the step. Speak the truth. Start the thing. Let fear watch you rise. Dream bigger than your fear. And one day you'll realize you were never afraid of failing. You were afraid of how powerful you could become if you didn't. Today, when I look back at the woman I used to be, I don't feel shame, I feel gratitude. Gratitude for every moment fear tried to break me and accidentally built me instead. Because fear was never my enemy. Surrender was. The real danger was not falling, not failing. Not being judged. The real danger was living a life that looked safe on the outside, but felt empty on the inside. I learned that dreams don't haunt the brave. They haunt the hesitant. They return every night, every quiet moment, every time you settle for less than what your soul knows is possible. And mine did too. They knocked when I was tired, when I was unsure, when I wanted to choose the familiar over the meaningful. But this time, I opened the door. I stopped asking for guarantees and started trusting my becoming. I accepted that growth would cost me comfort, people, versions of myself I had outgrown, and I paid that price willingly. Because staying the same was costing me more. I learned that dreaming bigger than your fear means choosing yourself even when it feels lonely, standing firm when your voice shakes, and continuing when the results are invisible. It means believing in the unseen version of your life so deeply that fear has no choice but to step aside. I became addicted not to success, but to progress, not to applause, but to alignment. And here's what I know for sure now. Fear only has power until you move. The moment you act, it loses its authority. So if you're listening to me right now, carrying a dream you've buried under excuses and timing and doubt, let this be your reminder. You were not created to live quietly in the shadow of your potential. You were created to expand, to rise, to disrupt the limits placed on you, including the ones you placed on yourself. Dream bigger than your fear, again and again, until one day you wake up and realize the fear that once ruled. You can no longer keep up with the woman you've become. So now I want to speak directly to you, not as someone above you, but as someone who has stood exactly where you are standing. If fear is sitting heavy in your chest right now, let it. Do not wait for it to disappear before you begin. Fear leaving is not the signal to start. Starting is the signal that fear has lost. Stop asking for permission to want more from your life. Stop shrinking your dreams to make other people comfortable. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be aligned with yourself. Take one small, terrifying step today, then take another tomorrow. Consistency will carry you when confidence can't. And when doubt whispers that you are behind, remind yourself that growth is not a race, it's a revelation. Protect your dream like it is fragile in the beginning, because it is. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Surround yourself with people who stretch your belief, not your fear. And on the days you feel tired, remember this: rest if you must, but do not retreat. There is a version of you in the future who is begging you not to quit right now. She is stronger because of the choices you are about to make. She is freer because you chose courage over comfort. Let your discipline be louder than your excuses, and let your purpose drown out your fear. You don't need to see the whole path, just trust the next step. Because every time you choose your dream over your fear, you are voting for the life you deserve. And one day, sooner than you think, you will stand in a room like this, telling your own story, realizing that the fear you once bowed became the proof that you were always capable of more. Dream bigger, always. And before I leave you with this, Remember one truth: fear will always exist, but it never gets to lead. Your dreams were planted in you for a reason, not to tease you, but to be lived. Take the step even when your heart races. Move even when clarity feels distant. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that your future matters more than your doubts. Trust yourself enough to begin, again and again. Because every time you choose your dream over your fear, you rise, and one day you'll realize you were never